Hi everybody, and welcome to another episode of Rapping with the Rep. I'm State Representative Ken Gordon, and I'm here with James Mabry, the president of Middlesex Community College. Welcome to our show.
Good morning, Ken. It's great to be here with you.
Thank you. I'm excited to talk about the opportunities for our families, including our students at Middlesex Community College, as well as our local businesses. Before we get into that topic, I want to talk a little bit about what brought you to the presidency of Middlesex Community College, and in a general sense, community colleges.
Sure. Like many of the students at a community college, I had a rather non-traditional journey through higher education in the United States. So I started out going to college, went for a year, was really not sure what I wanted to do, and decided to take a break at that time. I always consider that one of the best decisions I made. I didn't fail out of school. I stopped out until I really had a clear sense of myself.
What college did you go to?
I went to Bowling Green State University in Ohio, and I actually swam on the swim team there in the first year I was there. Really enjoyed that.
What went into your decision to leave Bowling Green? I'm sorry to slow you down.
I really had no clear idea what I was doing there. I just, it just seemed like until I sorted out what my direction was and why I was doing it, I wasn't going to do it the way it should be done.
Do you think that in the experience you have in working with the students, at that young age, it seems like we're asking a lot of young people to have their future mapped out they're still teenagers.
It's very individual. There are many students who really know what they want to do and really have a good idea, or really just enjoy going to school and are going straight through that. So again, my experience is not the same as everybody's, but certainly at community college we see a lot of students who have had a different path.
Okay, so for the next few years you worked?
I worked, yes, and eventually I was working as a carpenter. I was working construction, framing houses, and started thinking about getting back to school, and did some research in a library and applied to a couple schools, and lo and behold, I got into Columbia University in New York City.
Well, I'm sort of, again, silly, but
sure.
It couldn't have been that from working as a carpenter to having had 1 year of college experience, I just want to go to an Ivy League school.
Right.
I'm sure there's more of a story as to what brought you and your interest. What program existed at Columbia?
Well, I have to say that if I'd been more informed, I might be able to say there was something exactly about it. But it sounded like a really interesting school with a great program. They have a really strong program for non-traditional students. They have a separate undergraduate college for non-traditional students, and it just their literature just really addressed my needs, and it seemed like a place where I would be at home. There would be other students like me who had come up through a non-traditional pathway, but were really interested at this point in learning. And that's really what I found there at Columbia was a very rigorous program, a lot of work, but students of all ages, including the traditional students, who really enjoyed their learning.
So did you have at that point the grades or the SAT scores to have gone to Columbia or an Ivy League school just straight out of school or the other way?
Not even close.
Okay.
Not even close. So that's, as I say, I'm still not quite sure why they let me in, but I really, at that point, knew how to work hard. I knew how to take care of myself, and I got there and I just rolled up my sleeves and jumped right in.
Well, they obviously saw something in you and the other students in the program that convinced them that these students, as you say, didn't come up the traditional way, but they have the drive. Certainly they're smart, and with the proper guidance, they can get to where the other students are, because your degree from Columbia is a full degree like anybody else's, right?
Same one. You sit in the same classes, you take the same tests, you get the same grades as everybody else, and you get the same diploma.
Talk to me about, there must have been some, I would imagine, some guidance that you received when you got there, because again, you're going to Columbia through a non-traditional path. Were there professors or advisors that were important to you that helped you to motivate or at least to guide your motivation?
There was one particular political science professor. I took 4 different political theory courses with him, and if you've ever read some political theory, it doesn't go quickly. This is not like a light novel. And he assigned a tremendous amount of work, really made us work very hard, very rigorous class, but I got a tremendous amount out of it. And he was always there when you had a question. If you went to his office hours, he was there and he would answer your first question, your second question, every question you had. So somebody who was very supportive, who was there for you, but also set the standards very high.
It's just so fascinating to me because the opportunity to receive a first-class education anywhere is so important. You're working now in the community college system, which provides that opportunity, that head start to the non-traditional students. And that was how you were educated. And then I would imagine formed that sense of appreciation for those opportunities that you're now providing.
After I got my bachelor's degree, I actually taught high school for several years in New York City and really enjoyed that experience. But then I was fortunate enough to get an opportunity to go back to graduate school. I did a master's at the London School of Economics and then came back and did my PhD at Columbia. At that point, I wasn't quite sure which way my career was going to go. I took a one-semester job teaching economics at a community college and just said, this is it. This is where I want to be. And I ended up working at that particular community college in the Hudson Valley for 8 years and just really enjoyed my 4 years of teaching and then moving over to administration and academic affairs and doing that.
What was it about your assignment at the community college that impressed you?
The first part was just working with the students, but also being able to teach undergraduate courses in a very intimate environment. So we had small classes, we had a lot of support, we could work directly with our students, and that opportunity is very different from being a first-year lecturer at a large university where you're going to have a large class. Your teaching assistants will work directly with students. I really wanted to work directly with students, work in the classroom, and that really close connection I think really helps the students realize just exactly what their potential is.
I would imagine that you were also working with non-traditional students such as yourself who, for one reason or another, just didn't take the same path to a four-year school, but realized there was an opportunity to get there through the community college system, not only in a more affordable way, but also without making many compromises.
Absolutely, and you know, everybody comes to their own at a different point. I'll never forget a student who wrote an absolutely beautiful essay on the first test in the semester. I took him aside after class to compliment him on how good the essay was. He said, well, it should be. This is the third time I've taken this class. and then he commented that I was an idiot, you know, and he said, I got my act together now, and this kid went straight through in 2 years, had like a 4.0 average and transferred to the state university. So again, people need to find, you know, their own path in their own time. The student, you know, took ownership for his own mistakes and was ready to move forward. So it's always fun to work with students like that.
Right. These are tough times we're going through as teenagers, as people in their young 20s. There's a lot going on. You know, speaking for myself, I did better in college than I did in high school, and I did better in law school than I did in college because suddenly I appreciated the opportunity. And the reason I'm so fascinated with your background is, like you, I took a few years off. For me, it was after college and before law school. But when I got to law school, I realized, you know, I've been working for someone else for for a few years, and now I'm working for myself. And my commitment is I'm going to learn because I'm doing that for myself. And it was a much different way of thinking than when I was there before I was in college, because it's what I did after high school.
Absolutely. When I went back to school the second time, I was very focused. I never missed a class, and I appreciated, you know, every minute that I had there, and it was just a tremendous experience.
So let's talk about our community. Oh, so well, before we do that, how did you land at Middlesex Community College? What brought you here?
So, you know, working in administration, you really look at the pathway that you have there, and sometimes it's within an institution. So at the first community college, I had an opportunity to move into administration that was very productive.
Where was that?
That was at Dutchess Community College in Poughkeepsie, New York. And then after that, I moved up to become a dean at a community college in Palm Beach, Florida. And then I moved to be a vice president of academic affairs at a community college just outside Phoenix in Arizona. and now back to the Northeast to Massachusetts to be president at Middlesex Community College. So sometimes if you're going to take that next step, you have to be mobile. And fortunately, I have a family that's like to try different places.
That's great. And I would think the opportunities here are similar to when you were in upstate New York. I mean, our economy, like New
Sure.
York's economy, is a high-tech economy. We value education. Our
Yeah.
families are probably very supportive of the students.
Absolutely. You find community college missions across the country are very similar. And once you're on a community college campus, they have a feel to them. People are very focused on the students, very dedicated to their success. And you can see there's a very diverse range of students, all ages, all backgrounds. I know in our graduation last year at Middlesex, we had students ranging in age from 16 to 71 and representing 66 different countries. So just this wonderful range of diversity and people there for a whole multitude of reasons.
That's wonderful. And folks, I want you to know this isn't the first time that Jim Mabry and I have spoken. As soon as he came to Middlesex Community College, he got involved with the Chambers of Commerce, with Middlesex 3, and with the different educational organizations that we have. And even more directly, many of you know that I host office hours every month in a coffee shop in Burlington and Bedford, and Jim is one of my most frequent guests at the coffee shop because we talk about the opportunities at Middlesex and the need for the state to support with funding the community college here and in the state system in general.
Absolutely. I mean, everybody knows the revenues are tight in the state, and the state tries to support the community colleges as much as possible. There's certainly a lot we would like to do if there was more funding available, but we really work very hard to use every penny that we get, really focused on students and student success. That's at the core of our mission, and that's really what we're all about there.
And we realize the importance with respect to our economy and to our children to supporting this system, because, and this is not news to you, but for the folks out there to know, just starting with the value of the education at the community college system. A student goes for 2 years to Middlesex or another community college. The tuition is between 1/3 and 1/2 as much as. In other words, the students will save more than between 1/2 and 1/3 of the tuition at a state university, and then be prepared to go to a state university after that second year. It's a great system, a great opportunity.
Right. Middlesex serves about 12,000 credit students a year and about 10,000 non-credit students annually. So we have a wide range of students coming there, but about 60% of our students come because they want to transfer to get a 4-year degree or to go on to that. So we have a whole range of STEM transfer programs. You can study biology, chemistry, physics, engineering, math, a lot of people in those areas, but also a lot of people in business, entrepreneurship, and education. We have strong programs there. So that's a key component of what we do is to prepare students for transfer to 4-year universities. On the other side, we have a lot of students who come in looking to get a 2-year degree that'll lead straight to a career. We do a lot of work in the healthcare professions, nursing, dental hygiene, medical imaging, and a whole range of other programs in that area. But also programs like criminal science, we have criminal justice, we have paralegal programs, but also programs that are really fueling our 21st century program, like biotechnology. In 2 years, students in that program are qualified to serve as lab workers in the pharmaceutical industry. We have a 100% placement rate. Every student gets a good job at higher than the median wage in this state. Our cybersecurity program, we just rebuilt the labs last year. That's another state-of-the-art program. I see no lack of demand for cybersecurity technicians.
Right. I'm glad we supported that program.
They're going to keep going.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Do you counsel the students as to the opportunities in those types of areas? Because I know there are a lot of students coming out of high school. They're interested in computers. They may be interested in computer gaming and things like that. But if they were aware that there are more job openings than there are people to fill them in areas like cybersecurity,
Yes.
it really might pique their interest.
Yes.
And so I'm glad that you're talking to them about that.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, there is a sizable contingent who would like to make their living playing computer games, but we all know that's a tough path. But you try to steer that into an interest in how do you do the programming, what is the math behind this, and how does it all work? And students more often than not find a path that's close to their passion and one which they really can profit from in the long run.
I mean, that's so important because you're encouraging the students, explore your interest, that's great, but you also need a plan B, which is related to your interest. It was how I became a lawyer. I was a sports agent for a couple of years, but I really enjoyed helping people in more traditional jobs and migrated over to that. And your students have that opportunity through the diverse experience they have.
Absolutely, and we do a lot of counseling and a lot of career counseling with students on that. And that's important for them to know exactly where this pathway could take them. So we try to get students on really defined pathways as quickly as possible because all the research shows that if a student gets on a path, they're more likely to stay on that path, complete, and fulfill their higher education goals. So we really work hard at the front end to help students explore, understand, and get on the right path for them.
What do you have an idea of the placement rate? Say, let's take the students that are not looking to go on to four-year school, so ones that are looking to start in careers. What's your success as far as placing those students?
This is one of those metrics that's really hard to track in some of the programs. Students don't always stay in the area, don't stay in touch. But in some programs, as I said, biotechnology, we know we have a 100% placement rate. In cybersecurity, we see all our students getting jobs. Sometimes they're getting offers before they complete the program. And in nursing, dental hygiene, healthcare, those are also strong areas in this economy today, and they're doing extremely well there. So more often than not, we're seeing our students get placed in those good paying jobs that lead to really fulfilling careers very quickly.
It is so important for our Massachusetts economy because when I talk to businesses that have come into Burlington and come into Bedford, and I ask them always why. It's the first question I ask them. It's not the weather, and I know people talk about things like taxes. They're coming anyway, you know, and I ask them, so why? And the reason is access to the educated workforce at every level that we need in our business. They know they have the Ivy League schools near us, they have MIT, but they also have the state universities, and they have the community colleges to fill the positions that they have every step up. And we're unique in that position.
I think biotechnology issue really illustrates that very well. The biotech firms really need top-level PhDs to work in that area. But each PhD needs about 5 lab workers. That's where we come in. We train those lab workers. But what's interesting, when I talk to the biotech students, I ask them if they're going to get jobs in the industry, and they say yes, but they also say, I'm going on for my next degree too. So that entry-level lab work is something that really powers them to the next step. So our graduation speaker last spring was a gentleman who went through our biotechnology program in the 1990s, just after it opened. He'd been laid off from the defense industry several times, went through a government program for retraining. He's now a vice president of manufacturing for Biogen.
Wow.
And runs all their manufacturing at their main plant in North Carolina. They just moved him down there recently. So, you know, you really can make it to the top if you start and you keep going.
Fascinating success stories.
Absolutely.
In fact, we were just talking about one of the students, because I want to talk to you about the students that go straight on to a four-year school. They not only go to the state universities, and we can talk about how that occurs, but they go to private schools around the country as well. And you and I were talking before we went on about one student who went on to your alma mater at Columbia. Talk about that.
I was telling Ken that last Friday I got an email from a student that I'd been working with last year, and she just got accepted and has decided to go to Columbia University in New York, the same program that I went through there. And this is a young woman who's not always been dealt the best hand by life, and she has overcome a tremendous amount. She's very focused, she works very hard, and she's going to do wonderful there. So emails like that always make my day.
Yeah, and thank you for creating that path for her and others like her to be able to get to the goal that she has that's so important to her.
Well, I think I came at the end of the path really helping her it's really the college, the faculty and staff there that really welcomed her back. She was the same thing. She'd been out of school for a while, and she really found a place where there was a strong learning environment, one that challenged her but supported her, and one that really got her focused on what she wanted to achieve. She has a 4.0 average at the college in the last couple of years, and it's just, you know, she found her place there. She's in our honors program and just doing a wonderful job.
For students who come to Middlesex with the expectation that if they do well, if they attend class and do their best, that there'll be a place for them in a four-year state university, what's the placement rate, or what's the experience that you have with respect to what you could tell those students?
Oh, absolutely. We have agreements with all the state universities, and there's a whole mass transfer program, so that if students are taking the courses with us, they will be accepted at the state universities almost without question. There's always, you know, a few caveats there, but in general, it is a seamless transfer process for students going to state universities from the community colleges. We've worked on that very hard over the last few years to really make it as clear as we can and to put some incentives in place. So we have a Commonwealth Commitment Program, which says that if you come out of high school and enter the community college, go through in 2 years with a 3.0 GPA, you'll get a reduction in tuition and automatic acceptance as a junior at a state university, also with a reduced tuition there, if you complete there in 2 years. So if you're on a student who's on the track to go 2+2 and go right through, this could save you a considerable amount of money.
Think about that, because private university tuitions these days are so expensive. We're talking
Absolutely.
about $250,000 at least, probably. That's a low number for 4 years at a private university. To have the opportunity to receive this first-class education for such a fraction of the cost is so important.
Right. There are many pathways, and again, I think that for many students, coming to a community college is a way to get really work in small classrooms, work with faculty who really love to teach, find a wide range of student activities. We have a Commonwealth Honors Program at Middlesex. It is the largest one in the state by far at a community college. So we get students who go straight through our programs and then transfer to Amherst Honors College. So UMass Amherst Honors College. So that's a very strong education you're going to get there all the way through. So there's many places to go.
So what we've talked about so far is that the educational opportunities that are present for students who choose Middlesex are, first of all, they're less expensive. Second of all, there's a doorway or gateway to a four-year education, especially as you mentioned, through the state university system. There's a formal program that exists, and there's a diverse amount of programs that students can choose from at the community college. With respect to the quality of the faculty, I'm pretty confident that it's also a strong faculty. Can you talk about that?
Well, I think many of the faculty are just like me, where they've done their scholarship, they've really enjoyed that, but what they really love is being in the classroom and really working with the students. So they're already experts in their fields, but they really have found that their love is for teaching, and they spend a lot of time working on the scholarship of teaching and learning, on really how to be the most effective teacher they can be in the classroom. We do a lot of help with our faculty working with technology in the classroom, because as you know, students are changing. They're coming up in a different world, they communicate differently, they interact differently, and they learn differently today. So we're looking at how do we work with our faculty to integrate those technologies that will engage our students in the classroom. Can I tell you about one program going on?
Absolutely.
This one I'm excited about this fall. We've been working with how do we integrate mobile technologies, things like iPads, into the classroom. And we did a pilot program in the spring where all the students in an English class had iPads. The teacher is using them, and they connect to the projectors in the room wirelessly. This year we're doing it this fall we're starting with 300 students. So 300 students will be getting iPads in their first year English composition courses. We'll be using them to help them learn basic writing, college level writing, and to really find ways to engage them and get them excited about what they're doing. So I think this is going to be a really fun project.
I think this could be helpful on any number of levels. For
Sure.
example, the student, the teacher is in the front of the class and points out, I would imagine, here's a passage that we're going to talk about. I would imagine the teacher then can direct the iPads remotely that the students are holding. And they're paying attention that way because they're now following along. And even those that may have a vision challenge now don't have to be placed in a certain position in the classroom because they all can see right up close what we're talking about.
Absolutely. And what's interesting is many of these classrooms don't actually have a front anymore.
That's a good point.
We use flexible furniture, so furniture that they can work in groups or they can work individually. It can be flexible like that. But we really get away from that front of the classroom, which means we don't have a professor standing there lecturing. A lot of the lectures are recorded in advance. Students can view them in advance. And that in the class, it's really social learning. You're interacting with other individuals. And all of us know that success in the workplace today really depends on being to interact with people. And you need to know technology, but you need to be able to interact with people as well. So we're trying to teach all of those skills as well as English composition within the classroom. And part of that's by what type of learning environment we build, how we train our faculty. And that's the easy part because our faculty love to try new things and really work with their students.
One group of people that I'm concerned about are those workers who have had a successful career, but technology has changed. And I think the story of our unemployed workers, although our unemployment rate in our area is hovering around the 2.2%, 2.3% number, but those in that area, in that 2%, are those high-tech workers that really need to keep up with technology, haven't had the opportunity to do that. And so we're looking for places to bring them to take that 1 or 2 classes they need to fill the job openings that exist in fields that are very similar to what they've had, not exactly, but they just need a sophisticated platform or program introduction.
Sometimes it is just a couple of courses, and we teach those both on the non-credit side and on the credit side. So it could be computer skills, it could be some basic programming, or it could be even bookkeeping or accounting skills to help manage a business. But what I've seen quite frequently is people coming back who have a bachelor's degree, but really are now coming in for something very specific. They'll come back and do medical imaging, or they'll come back and do a program in paralegal studies. And they are really have decided which way they're going to go. Or some come back and have decided at a later point that they really want to be a teacher and go through our teacher education program, transfer to a 4-year university to complete that, and really go out to enrich our classrooms in our elementary and secondary schools in the state.
So is the scheduling of some of your classes flexible enough that those students who work, say during the day or maybe work at night, either way, can fit it into their schedule?
Absolutely. We have classes in the morning, class the afternoon, and a robust evening schedule. But what we're seeing more is, particularly among the more mature students, is they'll take our online courses.
That's what I want to know.
When I taught, I used to always teach one section in the evening. It's a different population. You're usually seeing them one night a week for 3 hours. They're coming from work. They're tired, they're hungry, but they're always prepared. And they want to get the work done, and they really want to learn, and they're very focused. I always really enjoyed teaching that group. Now, more often, those people will stay home, and they will do the homework online and participate in the class online after they've taken care of their other responsibilities, which can often be a family.
And this creates that opportunity for people who otherwise, like you say, may not be able to leave the home because they've got small children,
right.
And their partner, their spouse may be out working. So this gives them that chance. They're still taking the same tests as everybody else.
Absolutely.
And there's usually correct me if I'm wrong, but there's usually a professor available to call and ask questions.
Yes.
So they're getting that experience, but now through technology, they can actually participate.
Right. Between 15 and 20% of our credits are offered online. And each course is built by the instructor. So the instructors teach both face-to-face and online. And it's interesting to see how there's real synergies between those. The different environments teach you different skills you can cross over from one environment to the other. But also, it means that our students can take courses sometimes face-to-face and sometimes online. It depends on their schedule. So about 80% of our online students are also face-to-face students.
That's great.
They mix and match that schedule.
Well, President Mabry, Jim, it was great to have you here. I noticed from the clock on the wall that we've run out of our time. We could go on and talk for another 30 minutes, and I'm sure it would be just as interesting. This is a fascinating discussion about Middlesex Community College and the opportunities for our students and families there. Thank you for coming on to Rapping with the Rep.
Thanks for having me today, Ken. Good to
Thank
see you.
Jim.